All right, so after I've plugged in that zip code right here, I'm going to kind of go into, once again, the same user input that I was dealing with right here. And then this is another thing I put in. So if someone was to enter a negative value, that's something I ran into, because if you put something too high, obviously we can default that back to 0. But now that we've kind of ran into a, what if someone puts in -10, which
so that is a possibility.
That
you
is
can
a
do
possibility.
it. Okay.
You can really type in anything you want in here and see if it's going to pop up. So if I run it right here, I can type in right here.
But the negative numbers really only pertain to the rainfall number, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's kind of the numbers that I've dealt with here. Let's go back here. So it's just kind of numbers. So value equals float input. Value cannot be negative. So if you put in a negative value on a number, it's going to pop there. But on Word, you can really put in anything still. That's just going to, once again, default back to loam.
Okay.
And that's where that is right there, defaults into loam. And then now that if you not put a valid land use in, it's going to default to grassland, because we're going to assume that obviously I want to say about 45% of the world is grassland.
Okay.
Minus oceans, of course.
When these go to the defaults, is that explained in the app anywhere, or is that just something that you would know? Okay.
No, that is something I want to kind of push a little bit more. I need to find a way to kind of generate another line of code that says defaults into low as a per ln rather than a kind of in the code.
Okay.
And then we're coming here, the vegetation factor. The vegetation factor is going to be 0.8 if you selected vegetation. So that's anything up here. So we're coming back up here. Agricultural, urban, forest, grassland. So all of these can have vegetation.
Okay.
So if you say you do have vegetation, yes, it's going to be 0.8 because vegetation obviously slows soil erosion a little bit more.
Yes.
But if you say no, it's going to default to 1.2, which I calculated to be 33% more than, or actually 0.5% more than no or yes vegetation.
Okay.
So if you do have vegetation, it'll be 0.8. If not, it's going to multiply by 1.5. So that's how I got the 1.2. And then set back to land use. Same erosion types here. And then right here, that's where, while true, right here, that's where it starts to push the outputs, the soil slope, rainfall, vegetation, right here. And then it asks, do you want to calculate again? And then thank you for using soil erosion.
Can you scroll back up a little bit?
Yes, ma'am.
Keep going. Okay, this is what, was there, if conservation, not self-conservation practices. So this is just basically like if they're doing nothing to prevent erosion is what
Correct.
that's saying. Okay, sorry.
So it's going to default to the highest.
Okay.
So if they don't really know what they're doing yet. So this kind of thing is the purpose of this app is to, yes, bring, attention to soil erosion because it's something that's really deteriorating the world piece by piece, but also to show if you have nothing going on, what can you do more? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I'm looking to push once again in this app. And then, where is this right here? Oh, the risk score right here. So this is how it evaluates the risk score, because obviously if you multiply all of these, so the rainfall, let's say your rainfall is 10, times if you have vegetation, no vegetation, it's 1.2, it's already at 12. So you'd be high erosion risk, but that's not true. So this is then where it divides.
When you're calculating the rainfall, what period of time is the rainfall considered? Is it yearly, monthly, quarterly?
So in the app, it's monthly.
Okay.
But that's kind of what I picked the best is because, most farmers in general, they don't really calculate daily rainfall because that's kind of you have a bunch of outliers,
Yeah.
Every day you might have 0 rainfall, and then on Saturday you might have a bunch of rainfall.
Yeah.
So that doesn't really make sense, but usually obviously not the spring months, but every other month you have about pretty average rainfall.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a few outliers still, which is a flaw in this app, but once again, that's just something that you have to account for. Obviously, if you account for there being more rainfall than not, you're more than likely to prevent that.
Okay.
So, we're down right here, and then boom. So when we run this right here, let's see how this runs now that we've incorporated the zip code. So right here, let's see if there's any errors. So see right here, now that we put the zip code in, there's an error in line 38. So let's see what line 38 is. So line 38 is right after the zip code. So we're gonna find this error here, which what I found to be very useful is now that I can plug this code into ChatGPT, and then boom, it's gonna call what went wrong. So it looks like, so obviously I imported the zip code calculator lower when instead that import, so this is gonna be an import class, this is gonna be at the top. So right here, now ChatGPT has regenerated my full code that I have, but it's moved import RE to the top, and that's where it explains it right here. What it do, it moved it to the top, it fixed the issue that we've had with zip code along with user input. Now zip is displayed after the user enters it. So now we're coming back up here, copy it, and then we delete all of our old code. Which obviously there is a good amount of it. And now we're going to try to run it again. We can run it as low. 98. Or just go 98 again. Conservation, we're going to go 9. Enter a 5-digit zip code, and then this is where it's going to hit back to here. And boom.
Okay.
So now we have our zip code. So as I run this, and I'll be able to publish this app, now this will all be backtracked to the spreadsheet where I can see user inputs, and then that's when we can start connecting patterns and realizing, which zip codes have the best.
Is this storage cloud-based?
That's what my final thing is to do.
Okay.
I'm gonna end up finding a way to store all of this and pretty much code a Excel sheet that holds it all.
Okay.
So right here, and then with the AI application, this is just one thing I need to focus more on. So obviously we have this finished code here, which then I'm gonna plug in right down here, final code, because now we know this is the the edited raw version that ChatGPT has proofed. And with that, I'm gonna come up here. Analyze it a little bit more. Where's that import RD? So we're right here. I'm gonna move this down to a separate sheet so it's easier to read. It looks like it all checked out good. So I'm gonna run it again and see what could happen. So sand. So let's see if we enter a negative, will it display? So right here, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Value cannot be negative, so then it's gonna ask for you to do it again. So if I was to, do it again, boom, it would still say that. If I do it too big, that's when it defaults to 0. So
Okay.
then we're gonna try it with rain again, right there, negative 98.
So the negative is blocked on the slope and the rainfall then?
Correct. So
Okay.
every numerical value that you can plug in here, it is going to reject because...
What's the max on rainfall? Like this one has 0 to 100. Would the percent or the amount display in that or no?
There's
no
no
maximum.
There's no maximum.
Okay. So you set it to 100 on the slope.
Correct.
Okay.
Because I think 100 is the most, really slope can be.
Yeah.
Obviously, funny reference of Interstellar. In the movie Interstellar, in the world they live in of Earth's planet, the world is normally the world would be here. Now the world is flipped here, so everything is kind of horizontal. That's horizontal, right?
Horizontal's this way. This
Okay,
is
vertical.
Yeah.
So vertical right here. So the vegetation now is here to 90 degrees.
Okay.
If it was to tilt a little bit more, it'd be 100 degrees. But past 100, that's when the negative number would be, but that's very improbable. So,
Okay.
And then rainfall, you can have as much rainfall really as you need. I mean,
Will you run a demo and put in like instead of sand, silt, or whatever? Let's put in the word water, something.
yep.
So let's just see. So that way we know it. How do you know it defaults to low? You just know because it's in the back.
code.
Okay.
So, obviously, if the user was wondering why didn't it say anything, that's when it's going to default back
Okay.
to.
And you verified that it defaults back to low.
Correct.
Okay.
So the numerical values, I've put in numbers that are very friendly, and there's an equation that it follows right here. So the equation right here, this is when it brings it in.
Okay.
That's the equation type. So obviously these numbers are defaulted. So if you work it out, I figured out that if you don't put that in, it'd be low.
Okay.
So I might ask ChatGPT to kind of show that if you don't put in loam,
What
that is
happens?
going to tell you.
Okay.
Edit that if the user does not enter the right soil type, I guess reject would be the right word.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Reject. Let's see what it says. This has been a huge tool for me because it kind of. And then right here, this is my favorite part because it actually shows you, the line by line process of how it does it.
Yeah.
So we can go here and see where it defaults and which line. So we're going to go up here. Finished one. There's the zip code of course. Okay, so in line 57, that's when we're seeing the if invalid soil type defaults into loam.
Mm-hmm.
So line 56 and 57. So let's see what it's done here. Looks like it's moved it down. Okay, so then if you do not enter that, so what it's done right here is return soil right here. So it returns the soil, so it's back to this question. So if you do not enter one of these, it's gonna print invalid soil type. Please enter one of the following.
Okay.
So let's see if this runs.
So it really doesn't default to loam, then it'll just like throw out an error code, is what you're saying?
No, I've changed it. Now it's
okay.
where you have to. So if you put in money,
Oh,
for
okay.
example, see right here.
Okay.
But traditionally, if you didn't, right here, if you put in, it wouldn't. So
Mhm.
now it's that was kind of one of the errors I made. I knew that it was loam, but the person didn't know.
Okay.
So now, the user knows that they have to put in one of these. So
Okay.
If we put in NA, you don't have any of these. Well, you have to have one of these. It's kind of, even if you don't, you would know your soil at least is majority something.
Yeah.
What's the most percentage of your soil? Which still it'd fall under loam because loam is a mixture of the three.
Yeah.
So then right here, let's make sure it runs. Let's try the negative again. Perfect. Negative again. So see how I enter here, invalid input, because it doesn't recognize what an enter button does,
Okay.
obviously. So you're going back to here, we tried this. Is your vegetation cover? Okay, so right here, that's another error. So I need to make sure that you can only answer vegetation with yes or no.
Okay.
So, yes.
Excuse me.
We're all good. Continue. If the user doesn't enter yes or no for vegetation cover, make Alright, let's see what it does with this right here. It'll be prompted to provide a valid response. So let's make sure this runs. try it again right here. So boom, our first step's good. Slope percentage, so accidentally clicked an enter right there, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're gonna try the negative again. Boom, negative. So we're coming back here to positive. Rainfall, we're gonna try the negative again. Boom. Vegetation cover, we're gonna try right
Okay.
there. So that's where we fixed our final bug, it appeared. Yes. Urban. No. 5-digit zip code. So I see how I didn't enter 5 digits
Yeah,
there.
that was 6. Yeah.
Yep. So then I can enter here. Enter it out zip code. So right here, I'm gonna do the final thing of no, and then thank you for using the soil, and then it's gonna demonstrate the soil or the